Hello everyone, Theodore Burns here for another installation of the IndyPro2000 lap walkthroughs. This is week 7 now. Apologies for missing the last couple weeks, being on the road and a little under the weather, but here we are. New track, have not done Barber yet with one of these videos, so excited to show this. So a couple notes on the setup this week. I got it feeling pretty good and pretty safe. I would say for driving. There was one or two changes I was kind of playing around with the rear anti-roll bar, and it ended up being a little bit quicker with a stiffer bar, but it was quite a bit more difficult to drive. The rear end was just a little bit unstable. You just had to be pretty gentle with the steering and the right foot on exit. So for those of you looking for a little bit more, that should be a great little change. I'll make sure to write that note when I post the setups. But otherwise, I went back on the rear bar and got the car feeling really safe, but it's not quite as fast. I think with the rear bar a little bit stiffer, I was able to run like a 17.0 on lap 3, and then with this setting as it was, I think it took me until about lap 5 or so to run the same 17.0 in my testing conditions. But here for my hot lap. Same conditions as always. Morning, we're April 27th at 7:40 a.m. Is the session time. 25% usage for the hot lap here, and I did a 16.991. So without further ado, let's watch the lap. All right, and there we have it. So let's start off, look a little bit more in detail. So coming up, I think we should do the first, maybe we could just do turn 1 to start it off. So turn 1 coming down, I'm looking at the brake markers on the right. This is a very blind entry, so I'm looking for the 1 board here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to really time. I need just a little like dab of brake, and I'm going to time that right with my turn in, which is right at about the 1 board. And I want to start to turn in before the road really significantly drops off. And this is kind of difficult because you can't really sight the apex. You just kind of have to trust that it's down there. So you see, I give that little stab of brake and turn in right at the 1 board. And you see, now that I can see the apex, now I've adjusted a little bit, and I've gone pretty much almost straight hands as I was coming down the hill. So once I get down to the apex, I can get back in throttle because I've gotten the rotation. I'm right, car placement is right where it needs to be. If I end up hitting this curb, it may spit me just a little bit wide. Same thing if I miss the apex. I don't want to be getting in throttle quite this early or this aggressively because there is this patch of grass on the outside here, and it can really catch you out if you're just not quite on the right line through here. But if you are, you get that rotation, you can be full throttle and get out here safely. And you can see I had about half a car width on exit there, and just started to come back a little bit, set up for turn 2. But with that, let's watch back through this one more time in real speed. right, so nice and quick turn one there. So coming up turn two, 2-3, this is a really long kind of carousel here, and it's downhill as we're going through. So naturally the car is going to understeer through here. So we want to, and it's a very long corner, so it's going to be very difficult to try and get it rotated. So what I want to try and do here is I'm going to try and V this off. I'm going to kind of get like a first apex, get the car out, get it slowed, turned back, and then clip the second apex on the way back in. So to set up for that, as I come out of turn one, I'm going to come back just a little bit over to the left, about where this first line is here. Keep, maybe a 2 car widths off of the inside edge of the track. Once I get over here, I'm going to point the car in towards the first of these apexes, right at about the turn 2 point, and that's when I'm going to brake. Not super aggressively. This is a very light brake because remember this is a very long corner, but I do need to get the car slowed up a little bit. So this is only about 25% brake, and then easing off of there as I come into the actual corner because I'm just trying to roll my speed through this corner because it's such a long corner. But I do want to stay on just that little bit of brake to help get the front rotated because we are going downhill, and so the just the elevation is against us here. So I want to get my hands set very consistently. What I don't want to have happen is I don't want to be adding steering as I'm coming through the corner, trying to account for the understeer. That's bad. What I want to do is I want to just set a very consistent steering angle in the corner, and I basically want to drive the car entirely with the pedals, with my right and left feet. And the reason for this is because we know that the car is understeering. So if we keep adding in a lot more steering lock on the front end, we're just going to start scrubbing the front tires. But also once it does grab and we do slow down enough, we're really going to, the front end's really going to grab hard. It's going to snap and send the rear end around. So I want to make sure to stay really disciplined and not adding more steering angle than I need to here. And basically just try and modulate this with the pedals. So as I do that, it also keeps the left side tires loaded very consistently so that I can keep a nice arc through the corner. I'm not having to saw at the wheel. So basically there's going to be one point as I'm coming in the corner here where I can feel the car start to grab and start to turn back in a little bit. You can see about right here, you can see it start turning back in, and right at that point is when I want to start to get back in the throttle. Because that's telling me that okay, I've slowed it down enough. I've now accounted for the for the elevation change. I'm going to start to accelerate and get towards this second apex right at about the turn 3 point. So you can see it's still a very gradual application. I'm not going straight into full throttle just quite yet until I can get all the way down to the inside edge of the track. And basically, what I'm doing with the throttle there is I'm just increasing my radius, and you can see that I'm still keeping a very consistent loading of the left side tires. I've opened my hands just a little bit because I have the differential, the downforce helping to get me around to the corner, so I don't need quite as much steering lock. But as you can see, I haven't like completely straightened my hands. I'm keeping these left side tires loaded consistently. So because I came all the way into that inside edge, it's why I was in the full throttle. But you can see I need just that little bit of lift because I start to come just a little bit too wide. Because basically I'm going to the car is going to float all the way out, and I'm going to use this exit curb here. So if I don't get it all the way down, or I don't wait for it to turn in, what'll happen is I start to plow the front end. Car starts to understeer. I just take a much wider line, and you will end up out here on the grass, and then it's quite unpredictable because you're very loaded up as you come out there. So make sure that you stay patient with the throttle application, stay patient with the steering as you come through the corner. And then once we do get that rotation, we can just feather out the steering, keep it in full throttle, and just aim up the hill. So for turn 4, it kind of is a combination coming out of here. So we finish, we end up all the way over on the left-hand side over here onto this rumble strip. And then for turn 4, it's again completely blind. We just kind of turn into the far right-hand side of the track where we can see. And as we come up over the crest, we start to see this curb, which we can hit, but you don't necessarily want to, because it can kind of lift the car up as we're cresting the hill and upset the rear end of the car, especially on cold tires early on. So, but I want to try and get close to this to maximize or minimize my distance driven on the lap, but also get it a nice run onto the straight, because this is going to be one of the few overtaking opportunities into turn 5. So we want to make sure that we get a really good run out of 3 and up over the crest in 4. So with that, let's watch back through this section one more time in real speed from the chase camera. Alright, so now we have the approach to turn 5, which is one of the few overtaking opportunities on this track. With the slower cars, you can get a couple passes, or at least alongside, a little bit easier. The faster, the more downforce the cars have, the harder it is to overtake here. But Barber, it's difficult to overtake here. That is for sure. So coming into turn 5, one thing of note on the setup, you can go a little bit farther forward with the brake bias because we're going down a hill here. And going forward 1 or 2 clicks will help slow the car in a bit more consistent manner. If you get a little bit deep or a little bit too much pressure with the bias where it's at, I think it's right at about 55% right now. It can get a little bit too much up on the nose, and the rear end will kind of kick around on you, and it can be very unstable on corner entry. So one note: if you go forward, click like 55.4 or a little bit farther forward on the bias, it will be a little bit more consistent, especially if you're coming in here. So that's like when you do need to try and overtake someone, you're coming up the inside, trying to brake really late. You may want to go forward a click or 2 on the bias coming into turn 5. So that said, my brake marker for this corner is I'm looking for the 2 board. I'm going to drive just past it to about probably like the 190 I can get down to. So you see I get about down to the 190. Now this is a very heavy brake zone. I'm going to be threshold braking, full brake all the way down the hill here. And then what I start to do is I start to actually kind of bend the car in towards the apex. So once I get the car slowed down in 2-second gear, I start to kind of bend it in as I stay on the brakes. And this is going to help me rotate. And so there's kind of like a weird kind of like triple, almost kind of like a triangle to the curbing down here at turn 5. And so I kind of I'm going to try and like clip the first one, get to the second, and that's when I want to power down and drive out. So it's kind of like a dual stage, like almost like V'ing it off, but the curb kind of helps dictate that. So you can see I start turning in, still trailing that brake off, staying in 2nd gear, not going down to 1st, all the way down until I get to this first apex. And you can see now here's the first kind of point, and there's the second kind of point. So I'm going to wait until I roll around to this second point here to start getting in throttle. As you see, I'm going to get the car rotated because we're still kind of coming downhill. Once I get here, I can start to get in throttle, start to load up the rear tires. So that's that 50%. And now I can start to widen up my hands and start to feed in the throttle and really kind of straighten the hands up. I don't need to keep it super tight, but at the same time, I don't need to track all the way out. I'm just kind of managing the corner as I'm coming through here, because we're driving up into the hill, so it is kind of helping us give a little bit more grip. And again, I don't want to drive all the way out there if I don't need to, because that just increases my lap distance, and that's gonna slow us down, cost us a little bit of time. So get a straight run out of here. There's a little bump right here as we crest up onto the straight, but otherwise, just a nice feed in the power on the way out. So let's watch turn 5 one more time in real speed. All right, now we're coming up to really fun downhill chicane. iRacing has this as corners 7, 8, 9. I think official track this is just corners 8, 9. Either way, same complex of corners. So coming in here, I'm starting track left. I'm looking at the 1 board, and as I get there, I'm going to kind of just hit the brakes and turn in pretty aggressively into the corner. But again, this is a pretty light brake. It's only about 45% there. And you see I bail out of it very quickly. And basically what I've been doing is I'm just trying to get the front end loaded so I can turn into the corner and carry as much speed in here as possible because I can get the car slowed down pretty significantly. You see, I get all the way up onto the first curb. I'm still kind of aiming so you can see it, just see the slightest bit of this apex curb here on the little chicane. And I'm going to try and get the center of the car to go right over the edge of the transition of that curb with the track. So I keep the right side tires on the track, but the left sides go completely over that curb. So to roll as much speed as possible, this car is light enough, I can skip over the top of this curb without it upsetting the car too much, and then I can get the car slowed down for turn 9 and get it turned. So I don't need to be super heavy on the brakes or slow the car before coming over these curbs like you do in some other cars. So I'm actually go just a little bit back to throttle as I come through the corner here, just increase my speed. Now you can see this trajectory, so I have the right sides set to go right over the curbing and the center of the car right over the top here. This is not going to give you any off track doing so. I think you pick that up if you go completely over onto the grass. As you can see, I'm carrying just a little bit of brake as I come up over top. It's going to start to lock some of the tires, and then as I come down here and land, I'm going to stay on the brake and start to turn back immediately to the right. So what's really important is coming across this very straight hands. And kind of where we land, because I don't want to be too far over to the right and trying to turn back, because it's just going to increase the amount how tight I make this corner. So I want to open up as much as possible, and that's by coming straight across here. But basically, as soon as I land, I want to start turning into the right because we are going significantly downhill, so the front end's going to kind of understeer through here. So I'm carrying just that little bit of brake and keep turning into the right. So you can kind of kiss this curbing here. I don't really want to drive fully up on it because it does kind of lift off the rear of the car, so I can't get power down, but you can just kind of kiss it with the right side tires, and it does help kind of rotate it, but it keeps the left sides down and loaded. So basically, once I get all the way down into this point right here, I get the car fully turned. Now I can get in the throttle pretty aggressively. It's basically as soon as I get the car turned and pointed to the right, I want to get in the throttle, get out of here. So that's kind of what I'm thinking in my head as I'm coming down the chicane here. It's like, okay, set it up, get the car turned, and then power down. Because we do have a little bit of camber. We're still going downhill, but we do have a little bit of camber here, and we have a lot of road on exit to manage. And so it's get the power in pretty aggressively and widen the hands out. So I am only rolling second gear down through this. I don't really want to go to first. I don't really need to get the rotation, but if I go to first, it will overslow the car through here. So I'm trying to keep this in second gear. First, we'll get you this little rotation, but I'm trying to do this with just the brake, so I keep my minimum speed up because I can keep second and still stay on the track on exit. So one more time in real speed. All right, so now we have turns 10, 11, uphill chicane. Nothing too special here. I'm going to start on the right, and the main thing is I don't really want to hit either of these curbs because they will kind of pick up the car and upset it, can send you into a spin, especially this first one. This first one really just unsettles the car as you come up over the crest. But I want to get the left sides just right up to that curb, nice straight hands, and then immediately start turn into the right. You can kind of clip this a little bit, but again, it can really upset the car, especially on cold tires. You see, I just run up just enough to actually just touch it. You can keep this flat out through here and just kind of manage as it comes up over the crest. The rear will get a little bit light and kind of step out on you, but I have no problem in clean air keeping it on the track here. Dirty air, you may need just a little bit of a lift coming through there to make sure you keep it on the track, but it felt pretty easy flat in clean air, so I imagine you should probably still be able to do that even in dirty air. So, but again, don't really want to hit those curbs because they can really upset the car, send you into a spin. All right, now we come into the final sector of the track. This is roller coaster. This is turns 12 and 13. This is a fun, very high commitment, lots of elevation through this this tiny section here. So My approach for this, I'm coming up to the one board again. I'm driving past this, but as I hit the one board, I'm going to start to turn into the corner, but I'm keeping full speed to keep increasing my radius. And now I can start to see this first apex curb. So I want to get close to this, but you know, you can touch these curbs, but I usually try not to. Just ride a little bit or see just past it. So I do give a little bit of a lift so I can get it turned back over to the right because I'm still coming downhill. I don't want to end up too far over here because then it makes this corner really tight. And basically what I'm setting up for is when you crest up, when you go through 13, there's a huge crest right here on exit, and I want to be straight across that. So I set that up by compromising 12 a little bit here so I can get a good run through 13 and be completely straight when I get to that crest of the hill. So that's where I'm coming back across about mid-track right here as I start to turn back to the right, and you'll see now I'm grabbing just a little bit of brake, knowing that I'm driving into a hill here so I can get out of the brake pretty quickly. And turn back to the right again. I can use this curb if I need to. It doesn't upset the car too much, but I want to get right down onto it. So now as I come up over the hill, I want to get in throttle before I get up here to the crest and really squat the rear. And you can see that I'm getting my hands nice and straight as I'm coming up over the hill. To really manage the rear end, so I don't step the car out, but I also don't you know, crest it with steering lock in and put the car into a spin. So you can see I'm able to keep it full throttle. The car's kind of dancing out there, but I have straight hands. So I come up over the crest, and the full throttle's already got the rear squatted before I get up to the crest. So that's the first portion of roller coaster. So that's turns 12, 13. We'll watch that through one more time in real speed. All right, so now coming up to the final section of corners, turn 14, 15, and we'll play through to 16. So this is the rest of the lap, final sector. It all kind of runs together. So this is similar to the carousel at the start of the lap, turns 2, 3, where we're really trying to set our hands consistently and really drive the car with the pedals. So I'm going to turn in pretty aggressively as I come up over the crest of the hill there and get all the way down far right, still keeping full throttle all through this time. So I get the car down all the way onto this curb here, and now the car's going to start to kind of track out. So there's not really a great braking reference. I'm kind of using this brake here in the wall is kind of what I'm looking for as my braking reference. So you can see I start to bail out of the throttle, and it's just a touch of brake so I don't fly out too far as I crest up over this hill. I want to end up about where this this first seam is right here through the track as I come through this section, so I can still get turned into 15, but I'm not just washing out here and having to overslow the car. So it's a little bit before this kind of break in the wall is when I'm giving my lift, and then it's just a real light brake. It's initially only about 20-25%, and then it's still maybe about 15-20% as I'm coming into the corner. You can see I'm just kind of modulating that and using that to help modulate my turning as I come up over the crest here. And what I'm doing is I'm keeping my eyes on this apex. So as soon as I can see this apex, that's where my eyes are, and I'm modulating this brake to get me down to this apex and get the car rotated. So I'm coming out about where this seam is, and I'm gonna use the brakes to get the car turned in just a little bit more, kind of get it down all the way down to this apex. You can see I'm turning into the corner, getting down to the apex, and now that I've gotten here, I don't want to ride too far up onto the curb, just kind of kiss it with the right side tires. So as I get there, I've gotten the car rotated. You can see my trajectory. I've got it mostly rotated around the corner here, so I can start to get back in throttle. And basically what this means is I've rolled a lot of speed through there and basically kept up my minimum speed as much as possible just by modulating just that little bit of brake. It's a very long but very light brake for turn 15. So you can see I start to ease into the throttle there, not quite able to get to full throttle until I get my hands straight, and the setup for turn 16, if you can, it's ideal to be set up over here on the right. But what I don't want to do is you can end up about where this seam is, but I don't want to hustle the car back over to the right, because now I'm just making this a tighter corner than it needs to be. I can turn in to turn 16 from where this seam is. But ideally, you want to have it bent right around 15, just like we did, so then I can open up 16 as much as possible. So 16 doesn't need a brake, but it does need just a little breathe of throttle as I come into the apex. I can clip this apex curb if I need, and then it's back in throttle on exit, knowing that you do kind of get a little bit light here, and it is easy to run off. And on my outlap, I actually went just a little bit too far, hit the grass, spun, and slapped the inside wall. Very easy to do, especially if you're following someone with a little bit of understeer. So just make sure you account for that and lift early into turn 16, so that you don't run out of road, don't have to lift on exit, because there is a little bit of an overtaking opportunity into turn 1 if you can get a really good run through this section. So yeah, so watch back through this section one more time in real speeds. This is turns 14 through 16. And again, this is all just driving it with the feet. All right, and there we have a 1:16.9 lap around Barber. Unfortunately, I will not be able to make the broadcast race this week. I am flying out Thursday morning for work down to Barber, so I will be at the real track. So instructions unclear with the schedule. I'm going to be at the real track, not on the virtual one this week. But yeah, down there for work this week. It's a beautiful facility. If you ever get the chance to go there in real life, definitely make the trip. Excellent museum down there as well. Just very pretty track. Lots of elevation. Never driven there in real life, but it looks like a lot of fun. It's definitely on my bucket list of places to try driving one day. So yeah, with that, may see you guys in a couple races early this week, but if not, good luck this week. And I will be back a little bit late from Barber. I'm flying back next Monday, so the Olton video, look for that on Monday. Hope to get it out before the week actually changes over, but it won't be out necessarily early. It'll be out probably right on time. I'll try and get that done next Monday as soon as I get home from Barber. So yeah, good luck this week, guys, and I'll see you next week for week 8.